Hey guys, I want to do a quick emergency video. I read the article today. Some of you may have. It's not getting enough attention. That Donald Trump and the administration has been circulating a draft to use extraordinary emergency powers to take over the election in the fall. Now, I've got to admit, I did not take this seriously enough at first, the discussion of nationalizing the elections. And I still don't think it will happen because it is very clearly not the role of the federal government. But what I do want to say is I think they are certainly going to try. I think they will absolutely do everything in their power. And this very well may have to be an emergency vote or an emergency petition to the Supreme Court to stop it. Now, what they're doing in this is saying things like voter ID in and of itself, whatever, the devil's in the details on that. But those are state decisions, and a ban on mail-in voting. Now, I want to be very clear. That is disturbing. And let's just take into account why both of these measures the Republicans are pushing so hard. And it's less, particularly with the voting ID, it's less about because they actually have a real concern. It is all about playing into this narrative that the elections are stolen. When I was a Republican member of Congress, I heard from people all the time, it's like a religion in the GOP, that any race that's lost by the Republicans had to have been stolen by millions of illegals voting. That doesn't happen, by the way. It literally is not a problem. But yet, Donald Trump, even in the State of the Union, was saying things like implying it's this massive amount of illegals that are voting and stealing the election for the Democrats. Now, by the way, if you're Hispanic or a minority, it's like he is basically preying on your race to scare white people. That's what he's doing. It's the illegals that are stealing this. It's the illegals that are taking your jobs. It's the illegals that are committing the crime. He's not talking about illegal Eastern Europeans or illegal South Africans. He's talking about minorities. And so this attempt to nationalize the election is a man that fears losing power will grab onto, and that's what Donald Trump is doing. So we very well may end up in a court battle over this. It's also very possible that he doesn't end up doing anything. But what he is doing by this, even if he doesn't move forward, is sending a message to his base that if they lose, it's because it was stolen. Now listen, for self-governance to survive, democracy, the only thing that you need is just to agree on the basic rules. If you're allowed to vote, you get to vote. Your vote counts as one vote. The winner of that election wins and holds X amount of power for however long. That's all you need. You don't have to agree on any single policy or issue. In fact, that's what politics was created for, was to find a way to work through disagreements without violence. But if you believe that your voice has been silenced and your vote has been stolen or your vote doesn't count, it's just a few short steps till you have real violence. We saw hiccups of that on January 6th. A significant amount of the country had been convinced that the election was stolen from the rightful winner. And so you saw violence. Now that wasn't the culmination, that was the beginning of what will happen if in fact Donald Trump continues to talk about a stolen election. And have no doubt, Donald Trump will claim the election was stolen because his pride and ego will not allow him to say he lost. Period. So what do we do? So I think we have to speak out about this. I think we have to be very clear about this. I think we have to put pressure on the few Republicans in the House that still have a soul, that understand that democracy is at threat, that would be willing to shut down the floor of the House of Representatives by voting against every rule or motion that the majority brings to the floor until the majority agrees to or passes something that says the elections will not be nationalized. It only takes 2 Republican members of Congress to do that. 2 Republican members to join hands and say we're voting with the Democrats on everything when it comes to rules, the things that actually govern the debate of the floor. We're going to vote with Democrats on all of that until you, Speaker Johnson, agree to put on the floor a resolution or a law that claims that these elections cannot be nationalized. And they will shut down, absolutely shut down any movement of anything on the floor of the House of Representatives. You have to pass a rule to be able to debate bills or do anything. If you vote against those rules, you effectively shut down the floor into business. And I will promise you within a week of doing that and making it clear that you're going to hold fast, Speaker Johnson would capitulate and do anything. Anything you want. By the way, this also works for things like, I don't know, aid to Ukraine. But the problem is, if you're a member of Congress that's a Republican, you have to have a soul. You have to be willing to do the tough thing. I've been there. To turn against your party, to make them mad, to get the text messages, to not be welcome to the party breakfast. But history will sing your praises. So this is a real challenge. I don't think we should stay awake at night pulling our hair out over it, but we need to be ready to fight back. And the first thing we can do is put pressure on those Republican members of Congress and post places we post that we will not allow Donald Trump to actually nationalize this election and thus actually steal an election. So the issue isn't voter ID. The issue isn't even mail-in ballot. The issue is the demonstration by Donald Trump to make people believe that elections are illegitimate or stolen. So we can get into debates over voter ID and everything else, but that is sidetracking what this real thing is. That is up to states, by the way. They get to run their election. They get to make that decisions. And by the way, like 5 minutes ago, the Republican Party actually would say things like, we believe in the rights of the states, the 10th Amendment, all this kind of stuff, until they get the power. And then all of a sudden, the states can't do anything. If you don't like how your election is run, okay, vote for different people in your state. We will not let them steal this election while convincing others that the elections have been stolen every election year. It's simply not true. It is dangerous to democracy. And it's something that we will stand up and take to the streets and fight against if necessary. We will protest like you saw in ICE in Minneapolis. We will not have our voice silenced. If the pro-democracy coalition loses an election, okay. But I actually really believe that the pro-democracy coalition is the majority in this country. So let's not rest on this. Be sure to stay with me. I'll keep you updated as this stuff comes to fruition.